Hey there. In this video, I've got about a 2-hour conversation with an anarchist named Aaron, who runs a series of channels called ReEducation. In this video, we get into a lot of different conversations that I'm really excited to share with you, including the basics of how I even got connected with him or even started to believe and understand that, yeah, I'm probably an anarchist. That's probably the political philosophy that maps most neatly to how I think and operate. We compare anarchism to other forms of leftism like Marxist Leninism. We talk about religion, its values, and if it has a place in leftist or anarchist societies. I kind of prod him and talk tactics as far as how to help bring over liberals and conservatives into our camp at this really important moment in history. We talk about what this billionaire class constructed future is going to look like for the rest of us and what we should be doing to prepare and try to stop it. Since he's Canadian, we talk about how the relationship between Canada and America has changed significantly since the Trump administration got into power. Overall, I had a really awesome time talking to him, and I think longtime viewers and fans of my content are really going to enjoy this conversation. And you should go subscribe to his YouTube channel and Instagram and TikToks after this and keep watching and learning from him the way that I am. So let's go ahead and get into it. And I'm just going to let you know at first, we had some small technical issues and I had to use a different software that we had to figure out kind of on the fly. So he couldn't see me the whole time. Unfortunately, he won't see like the Bingus cat that I have to hold for a lot of it. And the visuals are a little fucky at first, but get better over time. But overall, I think that you won't find it super distracting. So let's get into my conversation with Aaron. Aaron, great to meet you.
Yes.
So I've given you a little bit of introduction, but I would love for you to introduce yourself however you would like to introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Aaron, and I am an anarcho-communist. I have been working in education and praxis basically for just about the last 10 years. I have a YouTube channel and a show that I host on various different platforms called ReEducation. And basically, that show is to help educate people on the eccentricities of anarchism and praxis, how we can go about doing direct action, mutual aid, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I kind of run the whole gambit of anarchist content, I suppose.
I've been watching your shorts on Instagram. They make me feel like I'm not just like, chain scrolling. And I do a good job of not just like, I don't do that ever. I don't have time for that. But I do like watching your shorts because they're good. You've tackled a lot of really fundamental questions like abolishing money, right? Like I say that, and part of the reason I wanted to have you on was the conversation, and the base of the conversation I wanted to start with is that up until 2 months ago, I didn't consider myself an anarchist, like not even at all.
Oh, wow.
I didn't think about like at all. It was how we got it for the audience, how we got introduced directly was that a friend of a friend, Chill Goblin, just a friend of mine, Chill Goblin, like a guy I've talked to a few times, like who I watch his content. I find it interesting and informative, and like, especially since he's dug into like history and the Epstein stuff, like that's knowledge I want to have, I just like, anyway, for referencing in my shit. And, but yeah, so, but we're in this kind of Discord that's got some anarchist people. And it really wasn't until that point. And even then I was like, I don't think you got the right guy. And that was after I made the video that you might've seen, which was about, revolutionary optimism and anarchist calisthenics. And
yeah.
I made that because I had been watching content that was like, I didn't realize it, but was basically from anarchists that I didn't think of that way at all, because none of them referenced that until like anarchist calisthenics literally came up. So yeah, but now I'm like, but the more I hear you talk, the more I'm like, God, this guy makes a lot of sense. I like that, and I'm like, fuck, I think I am an anarchist. I think because I thought of myself as like a Marxist Leninist, and
Shit, no
I
way.
wanted revolution. I understood like I like people like unions and shit like totally makes sense to me. Like in the ways that you talk about, where it's like, this is how you build real power in a capitalist society where like, where they have the shit, like you're the ones that fucking do it. You have to withhold labor. And like,
Yep.
that's part of why I have a normal ass job and I have not like, I mean, I run like the YouTube ads and I have a Patreon, but other than that, like I don't take sponsored content. Like I hate the idea of wasting my fucking time doing that at all. Makes me want to fucking, yeah. I mean, it's,
It's not worth it. It's
yeah,
not
I
worth
mean,
it.
it would feel soul sucking, and that was the problem. I literally
Yeah.
couldn't do it. I was like, no, I'm just gonna work a normal ass fucking. I would rather work a normal ass jobby job, like,
Mhm.
um, yeah, and like, and some of that also like empowers me too, because it's like I think for a lot of creators, they fear, like it binds you too, right? You're bound to the system, right? You're at some point, like whoever is giving you a fucking paycheck is your slave master. You are a wage slave to them in some way. And like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's like they are the slave to how YouTube is going to monetize them. And they're that, to people and to audience capture. That was really the thing that I was like, oh, this is how this happens. Like, and the moment I just set myself free of ever like doing like added content was like, I felt way better. I'm just like, I'm going to put
Oh
shit
yeah.
on the internet and I don't give a fuck what happens. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're not beholden to anybody. You just do what you want to do, how you want to do it, and nobody tells you when or if you need to upload or whatever, you know? I think that's the way to do it. The way to be independent media is to stay independent, right? And that's what we're essentially trying to do. We're trying to create, like an independent structure outside of that system. So I do the same sort of thing. I am thankful that there are people that donate to the Patreon, and if they can, great. If they can't, not a big deal, because I find other ways to maintain myself outside of the show. I know for a long time, the show was my primary job. But since then, I've went on to do other things and that sort of thing. Partly part owner in a worker cooperative now, so that's nice. That's a steady income and stuff like that. So yeah, like I think that's the only way to do it, is to definitely don't take the ad sponsorships, don't do that sort of thing. Just kind of stay away from all of that, because once you start taking them, then you kind of have to be beholden to those people, or you have to not say certain things. And I don't really like that. That's a slippery slope to me.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like, and that's some of it is the reason I thought of Marxist Leninism is like that's what I was like is because the
Yeah.
way that the book slide had framed it, I read some like Lenin specifically, I read some Mao, and like it just the way they frame it is like anarchists just don't have a fucking plan. Like they're not they're not gonna do like they oh shit my fucking okay there it is. Sorry, my video just flipped a little bit.
Oh yeah, no problem.
No, because I fucking knocked my shit. Anyway, um, yeah, they just didn't seem like it have a plan. But like what I'm
Mhm.
realizing now is that like you don't need a plan 10 steps down the road where people are like, okay, but how do we get to utopia? Or how do we get to
Mhm.
like when it's really like when you talk about abolishing money, it's like we just need to abolish money and here are the reasons and here's what it does for us. Or like again, this is why you need to join a union. Like just fundamentally, it's just like the most important thing is figuring out a way to collectivize anything that you like rely on other systems to provide you is to like no turn that into a collective action. I
Mhm.
haven't done this yet, but I printed off a little thing in my neighborhood, and I'm gonna go around and I'm just gonna be like, hey, I want to start a neighborhood Signal chat. Like
Yeah.
I want to. I just want to get on Signal. Like it's a secure. Like there other platforms do this, but they're beholden to corporations. Like they're not really there to help us just like be very direct and help each other. And then like, here's the things I can do for you. I know computer shit. Like I can help you with all that. Like you don't need to fucking pay the Geek Squad. I will literally just come over and spend an hour doing it. Like that. I have the time. I'll make the time because it's like, that's what it takes to get to a point where you're like, you got to get out of then you're not paying tax to the government. You're not enriching a corporation. Like there's just so many things down the line that's like, that is praxis and that is like living the values and enabling that, I feel like, as a baseline.
Yeah, I think that, in response to the idea about Marxist Leninists kind of making it seem like anarchism is this lawless state where everybody kind of goes off and does whatever they want, all of this, though, like, some of that is somewhat true. Um, the idea isn't without order, right? The idea isn't without a goal. The idea isn't without um, fundamental strategies to be able to obtain those sorts of things. I think that one of the problems that Marxist-Leninists, especially writers like, say, well, like Lenin himself, or even earlier with Engels, right, just being a Marxist, is that they take a lot of what they think anarchism is and they throw that onto what anarchism isn't, right? Like saying that it's chaos, saying that it's unruly, and all of those sorts of things. And I believe that there's a reason why they say that it's chaos and it's unruly, right? Because the people don't want to be ruled. It's chaotic to them, right? To the people that are in control. And whenever I think about Marxists, I think that Marxist-Leninism on the ground level, right, on the person-to-person level is a good idea, right? It's basically talking about the same sort of thing that anarchists do, about unionizing, about getting together with your community, about all those sorts of things. But the problem that I have, though, is that they take that idea and then extrapolate it out to be, okay, but now we also need to control people and we also need to do these other things, right? Where I don't think that that's necessarily a good idea. And I think that the main problem with Marxist-Leninists, or with Lenin specifically, right, or any of the leadership in state socialist countries, is that the maintaining of the power structure eventually becomes the goal, right? It doesn't continue to be a revolutionary force as much as people like to say that it is, right? For example, with the Soviet Union, was it revolutionary right up to the end? I don't think that you would find many people that could say that it was, right? It ended up having to focus on what is it called? Militarized communism, or wartime communism, right? Where they had to focus all of their productive energies towards the war effort, which wound up, putting a lot of people in seriously draconian situations, right? They ended up having basic freedoms and liberty removed from them. They basically created capitalism and dominance hierarchy and that sort of thing. Similar idea with China, right? China, I have a lot of sympathy for, and even a lot of praise for at times, but it's still a recreation of that same sort of situation again, where instead of getting rid of capitalism, they recreate capitalism. Instead of getting rid of the state, they make an incredibly authoritarian or an incredibly strict state, right? I don't think that, I'm not naive. I don't think that China is somehow worse than America or anything like that, especially not right now. But those are the problems that they end up coming at. And what I think is missing is that there's a lot of dissuading people that get into Marxist-Leninism from actually engaging with anarchist literature. I think that what ends up happening is that there's a lot of well poisoning when it comes to Lenin or Engels or whatever, saying that anarchists believe in all of these crazy pie in the sky things, and it might be nice, but it's utopian and all of that. It's kind of, again, it's a reproduction of kind of what capitalism has done to communism, saying that it's pie in the sky and that it's utopian, and that it's just a reinforcing of that same structure all over again. So what I think that would be beneficial for all of us is if anarchists, of course, read Lenin, but if more Marxist-Leninists read things like Bakunin or Berkman or any number, Bookchin, any number of other anarchist writers and authors and stuff like that, because I think that the power dynamic, the question of authority, is what is missing from a lot of the dialogue with Marxists. I think that being able to identify what the problem is and being able to take out that problem at its root is really fundamentally lacking. I think that when we boil things down, right, Marx was essentially talking about the worker and the boss, right? The exploiter and the exploited. But if we boil that all the way down to its basic form, right, we're talking about the oppressor and the oppressed, right? That's what we're talking about at the very end of the day. So what do we do to stop that from happening? Yes, we can reorganize all of society so that it follows a communist or socialist economic structure, but is that enough? Is that actually going to get people there? I would argue that it isn't enough, and that we have to actually have people learn what it's like to be in a society that doesn't exist under those conditions for us to actually get to those places in the first place. So with Marxist Leninists, I think that it's a really good start. I think that it's a really good direction, and they have had immense successes, right? But also incredible failures, and we need to address those failures, take them seriously, and think of new ways to do things. The Sorry for rambling. Actually, I'll let you
Yeah, I
go.
got.
I'll talk
I'm
later.
just taking notes as you go. I mean, I'm learning. I mean, that's why I wanted to bring you on, because I expected to learn things, and like
Yeah,
my
I didn't mean
audience.
to go off like that.
Well,
Sorry, I have
it's
like a whole
okay.
fucking
Again,
thing
I
in my
think.
head right now about it.
Well, you said you were an educator, and I'm like, educators can usually monologue. You know, you're also
Yeah,
you're a creator. Like part of that is like that ability is what makes you a good creator. So it's not a big
oh,
deal. And again, I'm just taking notes as we go. The notes I have are the first thing I'm just gonna go in reverse order. Direction.
sure.
I think I've realized that like direction is key, and I think that that's like to not be sectarian, to use a word that
Yeah.
has come up. I've mentioned this before, but I part of the reason I was like, maybe I'm not, and this is just a really dumb reason, but the Socialist Rifle Association is right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I tried to get into it here, and I was rejected. Not because of
Really?
anything I
Why?
did, but because of something I disclosed about like someone very close to me, that they had military service, and that like what their military service was like got me like not into it, which I was like, okay, well, and they mentioned things like the thing that pissed me off was not that they did it, was that before they did it, they were like, blah, blah, blah. We're against sectarianism. Like, you need to make sure you have an open mind. You need to be able to like work with lots of people. Like, that's the goal here, right? And I'm like, cool, man. I'm all about all this shit. And then they did that, and I was like, what the fuck? Are you fucking for real? Like, it's just me, dog. Like, she's not coming. Like, anyway. So, but like, direction is what's key, right? Like, that's okay.
Right.
We're going the same direction. Whatever, like
That's
whatever
the
I am and
thing.
whatever they are, I know that
Yeah.
generally they're going way closer to the same direction we are. I'm not worried about them. You know, like that's how
No.
you avoid being sectarian. That's how you avoid purity politics. Is you just look at people's general. That's really what we should be focused on. Everything we're talking about here is awesome and cool as far as like educating yourself is so important. And what I love about anarchism and Marxist Leninism and like just Marxism in general is like the core value it wants to instill in you is just critical thinking. Like literally
Sure.
that is like at its core. That is what Marxism is saying. Is like, hold on, look at the material conditions, look at physical things. Like don't like get rid of God and all that shit, and like just look at what your
Hmm.
life is like and look at what make those connections. And it's just like it's just critical thinking. The other thing that I realized that you mentioned was that really made me realize that, oh, I think I'm an anarchist, is the core is of the difference between like Marxist Leninism and anarchism, as far as I see it. One of the big ones is hierarchy. Like, do you believe hierarchy is just? Do you think it is a natural thing? Like, do you think that some people should just have more power, should just rule, right? And it's like, and I think there's also a question of a little bit of a question of like, when does a council or whatever in an anarchist state, like when does that kind of, how do you avoid those power dynamics or whatever? But what another creator, or what Chomsky called it, was like, human problems are the things that he describes as like the reasons for a lot of the justifications of hierarchy. It's like, well, what about the murderers? If we don't have any murderers, we need to have cops, because you need to whatever. Like that's how hierarchy is just justified, is like that,
Yeah.
because of safety or these human problems of like this. What about bad people? Or greed, like other types of human problems, like, well, what if people want more than they that type of shit, and is all used to justify hierarchy or expediency. We need to do this fast, right? I think that was a thing
Sure.
that when you talk about like why the Marxist-Leninist state, like the Stalinist state, like failed. You talk about war communism. Yeah, the reason it failed is because they were like, you need to give us this much fucking grain. Like, we're going to come back, we're going to take
Hmm.
that grain, and then we're going to take your grain, and you're going to barely fucking survive. And then people were like, cool, well, we're literally just going to make what we need to survive and go fuck yourself. And then they had to lie about it, right? And all the incentives were fucking wrong. So it's like, that's how you create a fucky-wucky state. Sorry, my cat.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah. I
can't
think that
see her.
that's.
I'm so sorry. I have a
Oh, sure.
hairless cat who's very lovely. Yeah. Oh,
I
I
wish I
feel
could see
so
him.
bad you can't see. You're gonna love this video. Look, you're gonna get to see the video. Just hold it all in, but you'll see her. And yeah, I'm gonna try to put her back up. Maybe I'll hold it for a little bit. Anyway,
I'll
but
pretend like I can see. What side are we looking at?
yeah,
Oh, cute
oh,
kitty.
yeah, exactly. There you go. You got it. Um, anyway, yeah. I mean, but yeah. So hierarchy is like a really core thing, and I just don't believe in that. Like, I really just think
Yeah.
we don't need that shit. Like, even the Discord server I'm in charge of, like, I really do try to empower people to make their own decisions, and like, I'm like, look, if you fuck up, it's okay. I fuck up too. Like, I'd rather you make a choice and like maybe help me out, put in the effort. Like, I just appreciate effort at all because it's a project. And if we fail, we can make changes as we go. And like, that is what
Mhm.
anarchism really is about to me, right? Is like, you don't know what the perfect end state is. Like, I
Yeah.
thought Chomsky was kind of a waffly guy because so many of his questions, like people that he would answer, would be like, he would give a history lesson, but then he would say, the next steps, he would say, well, whatever they want to do. And it was like,
Hmm.
it felt like a cop out, but I'm now realizing it's because it needs to be local. Like, you don't
Yeah.
need a bunch of fucking giant laws if you have all these these communities that know each other and like respect each other. There's just a lot of things that don't need to be said and written fucking down. Like it's
Absolutely. Well, and the thing is too, right, is we can offer ideas, we can offer guidance, we can even offer pamphlets on exact processes on how to go through something, right? Like I have stacks and stacks of documents going through what is the legal process that such and such group used in this date to solve this problem, and how can we use that in our modern day? We can use all of that stuff, right? That's the cool thing about anarchism is if you want to look for specifics on how to do certain things, you'll find them. But at the end of the day, it's up to all of us together to make those decisions and to make that world what we want it to look like, right? That's the whole idea is that yes, we could have a dictator or somebody, an authority, tell us how every single thing is going to be, right? But that's not the world that we want to live in. We want to live in a world where we get to make our own decisions, make our own destinies, make our own end goals and stuff like that. And with that, in and of itself, comes the idea of being able to have that malleability, right? Being able to make those choices and make those decisions as we go and as we grow and finding what works and what doesn't, reading history and finding out what worked then and what could work now. All of that stuff is extremely important, right? And the cool thing about it too is that we have teachers, right? All throughout history, we have thousands of years worth of teachers that lived without hierarchical structures, lived in egalitarian societies, complex ones even, uh, like with up to 5 to 7 million people living in some of those places. These aren't impossible things to achieve. We've done it before. We can do it again. But what it looks like in the future is going to be different than what it looked like in the past, right? And that actually even brings me back to the idea about Marxism, right? Is what the revolution looks like and what the society that we're going to have in the future looks like is going to be much different from traditional Marxist Leninism. It's going to probably be much different from what I view as a traditional ish anarchist society. I think it's going to be a hybrid of a lot of things, and it's going to take into consideration our material conditions until we reach that understanding with all of us leftists, right? Then we're going to keep going into down this sectarian rabbit hole where we're constantly fighting one another. Have you ever heard the song by David Rovics, "I Am the Vanguard of Masses"?
I have not.
You
Sounds
should check it
boss.
out. It basically talks about this exact thing, right? Where some people say, "I have the way, I have the one word," basically, right? Like I have this religious text. Some people treat it like a religion. I have this specific line that you can follow. Follow my banners, follow my flags, follow my slogans, all of that sort of thing. And that's the way that the world is going to be when we get out of all of this. And it's not the truth. The truth is that we need to find something different that works for our circumstances. And what that looks like is not something that I think any of us can predict right now.
Yeah. No, I think going back, people want certainty. people want
Hmm.
answers, right?
They do.
And it
They
gets
do.
like our
That's true.
society, right? And it goes back to like more of the more I think about, the more I've like looked into biology and how brains work and how like thinking operates. Like just again, just
Hmm.
like merging like science with sociology and with like just lived experience working with people, is like people want answers, and like that's what's comfort. Did you
Yeah.
watch the movie? It came out really recently. The guy, it was a religious film, or it was a film about us electing a new pope called, it's like what the conclave, I think is what it's called. Okay,
No.
I won't. It's got a massive spoiler in it, like a massive, like the whole movie is basically built around and it's very good. My girlfriend really liked it. We both really liked it. Anyway, recommend it. But one of the themes it talks about is that like people want certainty. Like that's like part of like what they look for in faith, and that with that like takes away critical thinking, right? Because it's like to build a new system that's better, more just, more equitable, that's never existed, right? There is no literal examples of we just do literally exactly that and everything's perfect. Like you have to invent something totally new, which takes learning as much as you can from the past, and then like work, and then humans collective ingenuity, and like freedom. The concept of freedom is so fucked up, and I get in, it makes me want to like it's like the way people talk about capitalism or whatever, and communism, how they like there's no single like definition because everybody just invents their own in their head. Like freedom is the same
Sure.
way, and anarchy to me is like, oh, that's the closest thing to like a philosophical like standpoint, like a moral framework that's like, this is what freedom actually looks like. Freedom is personal responsibility. Freedom is like doing as much as you can, like realizing that it's us against nature. It's people against nature. It doesn't need to be people against people. Like we can
Yeah.
come together.
Or even people together with nature.
Yeah.
Bookchin talks a lot about this, about the ecology among between human beings, which are not any different than animals, and nature itself. Right? I think one of the ideas is that we exist in harmony with our surroundings, with nature, with animals, with the earth, with each other, within cities. Right? There's no reason why we have to go against. So many people use the human nature argument, right? They say human nature is to be greedy, human nature is to be mean to one another, human nature is to dominate each other, and this sort of thing. And scientifically speaking, that's not true, right? Kropotkin debunked that over 100 years ago, right? Where he wrote that cooperation is far more equitable for evolution than competition, right? More species cooperate with one another than compete against one another. So we put these things onto ourselves. But how do we build a society where we don't do that, right? How do we build a society that's equitable for everybody and works towards um, the betterment of all humankind, right? It works towards maximizing uh, happiness, maximizing health and well-being, right? Minimizing harm and destruction. What does a world look like that creates one of those things? And that's why I said before that I don't think that it's necessary to like not necessary, but I don't think that it's enough just to talk about the economy or to talk about the worker or to talk about the housing cooperative. It's an entire ecosystem, right? It's every single thing from the start to the finish. We should reevaluate, take a look at, and maybe not completely change, right? To change the entirety of the world overnight is not something that I would even say is possible. But to at least evaluate those things and see what is the best way that we can go about this. How can we maximize human happiness, right? How can we make things better for the average person? And I think that we have a lot of really great solutions. It's just a matter of implementing them at this point, which I think that we can actually, honestly, we are at the point where we can do that. We may not be in a post-scarcity society in that we still have certain things like, hard to manufacture goods or whatever. But we're in a post-scarcity society in that we don't really have any reason to want to, or we don't really have any reason to think that we can't get things if we just work together and try to get them, right? Like a lot of people say that the reason why poverty exists across the world isn't necessarily a financial problem; it's a distribution problem, right? We haven't figured out ways to distribute equally to those people. And it's not that we haven't figured it out, it's that the incentives are as such that the structures that control those spheres don't allow for that sort of thing to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's we've built a society, and again, like reading through anarchist books like Chomsky and stuff made this just so clear that it's like we've built a society around competition, not cooperation. And when I say we, I mean like specifically America, but obviously like capitalism is at its core.
Sure.
But like America is the most America is the most capitalist country in the world. Like that's why the tariffs are fucking stupid, and like why everything that's happening right now is totally dumb, because we are destroying. When you destroy capitalism, you destroy the country's power. Like you're literally shrinking our capabilities and destroying the empire like single-handedly by doing all this shit. But anyway, it's like that's the competition. Like that's what capitalism creates versus cooperation, which is like what really truly can. Like I play sports, right? Like, and I did competitive like single sports. I did like track and field, but I always preferred team sports. Like I enjoy being a high performer on a team of people. I don't mind. I play sports with men and women. Like people, transphobes freak out about like women in men's sports hurting women. Bro, we play like all the time. It's fine. Like women are really capable.
It's
like
fine.
Actually.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, I mean, bro, my whole
that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Like they're just making a fucking a decision for everybody else. Like if you talk to the people that are playing the sport, right? They don't fucking care. 99% of the people don't fucking care. There's like 7 trans girls in like one field, like, and they're demonizing these people because of what? Like, well, we all know the reason why, right? It's the scapegoat thing, right? They're going after trans people and gay people and all of us because if they don't go after, well, because they need someone to blame. They're going after immigrants as well, and it's the fascist playbook.
Yeah, it's
It's
eye off the
exactly
ball. Like
what it
take your
always
eye off the
is.
ball.
Yeah.
Look at this thing over here. Get mad at this thing.
Yeah.
You saw the
100%.
fencer article. Did you see the article about the fencer who took a knee to Okay, so fencer takes a knee to a trans competitor, makes a whole fucking show of it. Does after doing it, she gets a $5,000 like scholarship, and she's like getting like sucked into this right wing pipeline, and it's like, oh, it's the money. They do it for the money, like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like for the opportunity, right? Because somebody will. Just like in Seattle, I freak out because we keep paying our cops more and more because they can't hire cops in Seattle because people in Seattle know what cops fucking do, and we don't want to be fucking cops because we don't want to beat the shit out of homeless people and neighbors. Like we don't want to do that fucking job. So they're just like, you get 50 grand if you come be a cop in Seattle right now. Like just sign on bonus. And that's on top of an average salary of like 150 grand. Those motherfuckers make more than I do in cybersecurity. Like a career I've been doing for fucking, a decade. Like, anyway. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
It is crazy. But going back to happiness. Yeah. Like people get confused about like, again, capitalism makes you wrapped up in like, what's going to make you happy? Lamborghinis. Yeah. Like if you need a Lamborghini, like I just feel like the people who buy a Lamborghini, I see nice cars and shit while I'm riding in Seattle all the time. I rip past them at double the speed limit that they're doing because they're not buying them for performance, they're buying them to look cool, and that's why I can destroy their $2 million bike with my $20,000 or their $2 million car with my $20,000 bike. Like like that to me is like, that's an example of like, that is dumb fucking money. And that is so fucking, it is so unethical to me that anybody would pump that money into a fucking car. Like I hate that person. Like truly, it's as much as I can, I have high empathy, but like, man, I like, and how much like masculinity is, and like how much people like luxury items and shit like that. It's not even like people bitch about like, communism is win no iPhone while capitalism is nearly fucking taking away your iPhone at this point. Like they're doing it actively. Literally. Yeah, exactly. Or maybe not an iPhone, but something else. But yeah, it's it's what makes you happy is like, to me, I've realized, like, I went through a hard divorce. I mean, it was a really easy divorce by comparison to
Yeah.
most people, but like getting divorced from somebody you've been with for a long time is just like, it's a big life change. And like I mentioned, I really, like, I tried to rebuild my life from the ground up instead of just trying to like recreate things. And yeah, I realized how many things that like I thought made me happy actually didn't, and like how inauthentically I was living for a long time. And the more I just kind of lean into what I want to do, the happier I am. And the more I kind of just look at things from an anarchist perspective of like, okay, what can my life tolerate? Like how much of X and Y, and like when I fuck up and go too far, I make adjustments. I quit drinking
Yeah.
recently because I realized
Oh, good.
it was fucking me up, and I needed to be more functional. And like
Good for
you
you.
know,
That's fantastic.
yeah, I mean, but like it took, to making mistakes or whatever. But like, yeah, that's it takes time. And like so many, I talked to so many young queer people in my Discord community. Like that's really like a really big factor of it. There's just a lot of young queer people who need help and need somebody who like
Yeah.
will talk to them and treat them like a fucking adult and not like speak down to that, like. And how many queer kids are just in shitty families that do not support them at all,
True.
and like how sad that is, like, to be anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, like they're so they want happiness or whatever, but it's like it's so hard to figure that out, and it takes so much time for people just to like, yeah, put anything sorry, that's going back to people being like, they want all these materialist things. And that's what I struggle with the most, is like with people who are more liberal, is getting them to see happiness as something other than what they've kind of been programmed by the culture to shape them into, by, in a capitalist market, like doing the job. Like if I want to try to get my coworkers to unionize, it's really difficult. Not that I would do that. I'm not doing that, of course. I would never say that. But
No,
like,
don't even mention, don't even perish the
don't
thought,
even
man.
talk
Holy
about it,
moly.
right? But like,
Don't
again,
even talk about it.
as capitalism is burning down around us, as the stock market is crashing, a reality of that is going to be a contraction in the market, meaning less jobs. This is just a literal reality we're going to run into. In the same way that I sold all
Yes.
my stocks before it fucking tanked because I was like, this is clearly, we're fucking going downhill. Like, this is the moment where I'm like, we really need to talk more seriously about unionizing everywhere, all the tenants unions, and you talk about that
Yep.
too in your content. And like, people have a negative, and this is a question I wanted to ask you specifically since we're on the topic, but people have a
Sure.
negative vision of unions a lot. And because my ex was a air traffic controller in America, and like that's a big union. But like in 2018, we bought a new house, and it just so happened to be we bought that new house, and at the moment we did that, when we were the most financially expended and stretched out, the government shut down for like 2 months
Wow.
because they're playing fucking games. And we had like serious like financial like trouble for like, for 60 days she worked without a fucking paycheck at all. And I'm like, yo, stop going to work, fuck those people. And they're so shocked still from Reagan. That union is so toothless that they have I'm like, you have the ability to shut down this whole fucking country if you stop going to work. Like, this ain't the 1970s, dog. Like, you are gonna destroy capitalism if you do not go to work. So
Yeah.
fucking you control this fucking conversation right now, but they would never do any of that. The most we did is go and picket at fucking airports. What is a real union to you? Let's talk about it.
So that's an awesome question, and I make that I ask that same question on my Instagram and on various videos and stuff like that. What is a real union? Well, what's a fake union? Right? A fake union is a union that doesn't actually work for the worker. What's the point of a union if it doesn't work for the workers themselves? A fake union is one that does what the boss asks for. A fake union makes sure that you don't use your collective bargaining power to get what you want, right? That's what a fake union does. A real union lets you know how to use your collective bargaining power, and how you decide to use it is entirely up to you. But one thing, and I can't tell you exactly what strategies you should use, but I can say that all of the strategies that work have been made illegal. And there's a reason for this. They've been illegal since the very start, right? You can't, so most unions won't advertise that you should do these sorts of things, right? But the thing is that if you think about the beginnings of unionizing, the people that fought for those unions, that fought for the workers' rights that you have now, right? Child labor laws, the 40-hour work week, vacation time, healthcare in Canada, that sort of thing. Those were fought, and I mean fought physically. They were armed, right? Like they literally had to fight and die for their freedoms, you know. And unfortunately, that is the reality of the situation, is that if you are not challenging power in a real way, they will not take you seriously. And if you follow by all of the actions that they tell you to, then you're going to wind up having a much harder time with all of the actions that you're doing, because they're going to be 10% as effective, but they're going to be 100% more damaging to you. For instance, if you go out onto the picket line, right, it's an extremely dangerous place to be. You can be hit by a car. You could be walking out in the sun, in the cold, in the heat and stress, rain, doesn't matter what it is, for hours, days, weeks on end, right? You can be severely damaging your body just by doing that picket line, because it's illegal to do a sit-in, right? It's illegal to go inside the building and sit down and not move, because that would be trespass. But you are technically allowed to be out in the street on public property to do it, right? And now they've made laws even still where if you're protesting, and probably if you're unionized and you're picketing as well, in some states, they can hit you with their cars, right?
Holy
The ways that
shit.
you actually,
Yeah, that's true.
pardon?
Fuck, I
Yeah,
forgot that. Fuck, that's so
yeah,
fucked up, dude. Holy shit.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So no. It is fucked up. It's absolutely fucked up. But of course it is, right? That's the way
Yeah.
that the system is set up. That's the way it needs to function. It's working exactly as it's been created to work. You know, if doing things the way that they wanted you to do them actually got you where you wanted to be, then we would all be living in a socialist utopia right now, right? If you go through the proper channels, you're just going to be killed through trial by process, right? This is
Yep.
why I always say that there is absolutely zero documented evidence, zero documented history of anyone ever being able to solely change the system from the inside just by getting on the inside and trying to change it. There's no way, right? There is no path forward there. There's a lot of bureaucratic hurdles. There's a lot of roadblocks, and it's set up exactly to be that. Because if it was easy, if it was even possible, right, then we would do it. It's a lot like what Emma Goldman said. If voting actually made a difference, then they would make it illegal. It's true, right?
Yeah.
To touch on that very, very briefly, the idea of voting in a democratic system is nothing more than a pressure release valve, right? It makes you feel like you did something. It makes you feel like you made a difference. But at the end of the day, the system has not changed. It will only march towards the worst, right? Because the incentives are as such to keep them that way. The workers are not in control. The people that are in charge are in control. So the people that are in charge are going to get their way, whether it takes 10 years by Democrat, or if it takes 10 months by a Republican. They'll eventually get there.
Yeah, I'm realizing. So a big question I had that I was going to say at the end was like, let's get into solutions now. But I'm realizing like
Sure.
we're getting there. Like this conversation is getting into the places that we're already there. Anyway, so that's great because I'm thinking about like again going backwards. I'm kind of off voting and like I get it now as like just the literal minimum like whatever. I'm gonna walk my dog to this place anyway.
I understand. Yeah.
You know, right? Like not I would not like I don't think that Trump is I'm not an accelerationist in the sense that I would ever do anything that would like give a fascist any advantage, you know, like, and that to me would just be doing that. I live in
Right.
Washington State though, so I protest vote, you know, I've not put in a Republican or a Democrat for years, but like, obviously I didn't need to worry about any of that shit. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the way I do voting. But it's like part of the practice, right? It's like, hey, in a democratic society, you're gonna need to vote on shit. And when I went into the DSA, that's one of the things they make clear is they're like, look, we're gonna ask you to do work. Sorry, like that's kind of what being like community minded and shit is about. Is like you got to do work. So
Yeah.
get used to that. And it's like, but
Yeah.
like that is I like that mentality. You know, it's more realistic to what needs to happen and like where we need to be going. But there's a quote from, I think it's Mandela, that I heard in the read in the book, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, and it's something to the effect of like what is effective is the anvil of peaceful protest, you know, struck with the hammer of direct action or like violent
Yeah.
resistance, basically. And it's like no, and it goes into kind of several examples of like the peaceful like. People talk about like MLK, right? And they're like, God, he did so much for civil rights. You know, first off, they killed that motherfucker. Yeah, he did so much that they murdered his ass, you know, and like the government tried to kill him, get him to kill himself before. Like fucking he lived like he was attacked severely, right? And then when he was murdered, like then that's when shit got fucking real, because then there was like 10 days of fucking violent insurrection and they were like, "Oh fuck, we need to do something now." And it's like that's when shit, real fucking shit happens right there,
Yeah.
you know, that we want to happen. And the struggle is in this moment for me is how to get liberals on board and people that have this mindset that like they're like waiting for the shoe to drop. They're waiting. Again, I don't know if you feel this. I don't know. You live in, again, as much as you're willing to disclose, but I get the sense you maybe live closer to a different country that's not America.
Yeah. No, I live in Canada. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, maybe some
Yeah.
people detected the accent. I don't like to prejudge, but I mean,
Is it
I would
that
rather be in
strong?
Canada. I would rather be in Canada, to be honest. But like, I was born here, so I'm gonna stay here. Like, that's fine. Like, but if I just rolled Canada in my birth like country, I would feel better about that. But like,
Yeah.
it's like America slightly, just tilted at slightly less fascist directions. You know, you clearly look like you're learning from us, and that's great. You know, learn from other people's mistakes politically. But
That's exactly where we should be, is learning from mistakes.
yeah,
You're our big brother. You're our role model. What are you guys doing? We need to watch what you're doing and emulate you in every way.
yeah. But what works is like these people are, I feel tell me if you feel that people around you, and again, I don't know what circles you're on in, but like I work a jobby job, right? So like
Yeah.
working a jobby job gives me a lot of people in a place that people make pretty good money because we're tech workers, right? So it's like
Right.
these people have retirements that they're working on, that they just put into that are good, like. But like we've sensed for the last couple of years, ever since COVID, like the power being ripped from us very, very slowly. But I'm like, yo, it's about to get real fucking bad, dog. Like we need to we need to do this now. Like I've been talking about this for years, but but everybody doesn't want to believe it. What do you feel?
Yeah.
Is that real to you, or
It's as real as yeah, it's as real as a death camp, I think. That's how I feel about it. Yeah, I think that unfortunately, this can relate slightly back to voting, but I'm not going to press the issue. I feel like a lot of the time, like I was saying, voting can be a pressure release valve, and it can make you feel better for doing something. But we've been saying for the at least I've been saying for the past 8 years that we need to be out in the streets and we need to do something about the fascist takeover that's coming. The problem with being a leftist, unfortunately, is that you're usually right just a little too soon.
yeah,
And nobody believes you. Nobody takes you seriously or anything like that. For instance, a couple of months ago, I think it was about 7 months ago, almost exactly, I called up one of my good friends and I said, "Hey, so you should probably take your money out of the bank. I'm just saying." And they're like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Well, because even though you live in Canada, there are certain protections, blah, blah, blah. If there is a massive global financial crisis, you're just not going to want to have your money in a bank. It's probably not going to be super duper safe there because there could be a bank run, a bailout, a bail in, number of other things that could happen. Just to be safe, take your money out of the bank." He says, "Okay, well, maybe I will, but you sound like a conspiracy theorist." I said, "Okay, that's fine." 7 months later, just a week ago or 5 days ago, something like that, I called up the same friend and I said, "Hey, so I'm thinking that you should probably take your money out of the bank." And he says to me, "You said that fucking like almost a year ago. Why are you telling me that now? You've made these assumptions before and you're never right." And I said, "Dude, I told you 7 months ago to take your money out because we knew that this was going to happen. I'm not Nostradamus. I'm not a fucking genius. I'm not some high-minded pie in the sky fucking brainiac or anything like that. I looked at the numbers and I was like, looks pretty bad right now. The stock market is getting out of control, and meanwhile, all of the regular people are not doing so great. Inflation is rising, and all of these problems. What's happened every time that's happened in the past? A financial crisis. What happens every five or what is it, 7 to 10 years? A financial crisis. Are we in a position right now where the largest financial crisis could possibly happen because 2008 really didn't have the effect that it should have, and we're compounding every year since then? Yeah, I think that we're right now looking at not only a global financial crisis, but also an immense rise in fascism, a rise in authoritarianism across the board. You can see it all across Europe as well. Canada was on that path, right? We had the one conservative representative, Pierre Poilievre. He was going to be pretty much a shoo-in to be the next prime minister, right? And he was a very far right conservative, right? And going the way of the dodo, the way of every other country on earth, almost, it seems like it sometimes. But luckily for us, not for America, because of Trump's fuckery, now we're going to get somebody that's more liberal. That's good. Harm reduction is good, right? We're not all about accelerationism. I don't think that it's going to make a big difference in the long run. I think in the long run, we're heading towards a collapse. But if we can stave off that collapse as long as possible, probably for the better, that's fine. I go back and forth on that point because I don't necessarily think that voting is useful, but I also like to have a lot of time to be able to prepare for something. And unfortunately, in America, y'all haven't had a whole lot of time to prepare because fascism moves a lot faster than you expect it to. Right. With Joe Biden, I think that you would have reached fascism probably in the next 15 years. With Trump, it happened in 2 months, right? And now they're talking about slave labor camps. They're shipping people to different countries to be put into gulags, possibly even death camps now as well. Protesters being black bagged and thrown into a vehicle and disappeared and never seen again. It's we're living through history. We're living through history right now. And this, because of the populations, because of the landmass, because of the wealth, because of the military size, because all of those different things, this could be something far greater than anything that we've ever seen before. What do we have all at once? We have a financial crisis, just like we did possibly. I'm not going to say that it is for sure, but it looks like it could be a financial crisis on the same level as the 1930s, right? We have a rise of fascism that could be on the same levels as the early 1940s. We had a pandemic that was on the same level as some of the plagues that happened during the early part of the 20th century, right? And all of those things compound one after the other after the other. It is an extremely terrifying time right now. So do people need to start building? Absolutely. Can we get liberals to start building? I fucking hope so. I really hope. But I think that the thing is, right, is that the thing about the middle class, right? And this is what we're talking about. Liberals, conservatives, doesn't matter. Primarily the voters are middle class people, and the thing about the middle class is the middle class was created, to keep people feeling comfortable, to keep people always getting their treats and to always feeling safe and like they're always going to have their children do better than they did and so forth. The middle class doesn't exist anymore. There is no really, right? It's been shrunken to a point where it's barely able to even breathe. It's so small. You could drown it in a bathtub, right? That's how small the middle class is now. And that's the thing, is that once that middle class is shrunk and now all we have is true poverty or true wealth, right? That contradiction can only exist for so long before it bubbles over and it turns into something else. That pendulum is eventually going to swing, and what direction it swings into, will determine the history of our planet moving forward, of our species even, right? And even larger consequences than that. We might be the only species in the universe, right? And we might be looking towards wiping ourselves out because we can't figure out how to eliminate hierarchy, and we can't figure out how to get rid of dominance and control structures. Those are the things, when we boil, like getting back to the very beginning, those are the things that when we boil it right down to what these problems are, it's about the oppressor and the oppressed, right? The dominator and the dominated, right? And that's what's caused all of these problems. That's what's going to march us towards destruction. And to stop that, the only way to stop that is to use some sort of structure, whether it be a philosophy, an ideology, or a process, or probably all three, because that's what anarchism really is, to eliminate that, to dismantle that hierarchy, to dismantle that process, and hopefully get to something better, because I don't think that after this we have any chance, right? What's the old adage? It's either communism or barbarism, right? In this case, it's either anarchism or annihilation.
Yeah, no, or fucking techno feudalism and then annihilation. Like we are already fucking there.
It, it's
We
it,
are.
it's just another step down that
Yeah,
yellow brick road, right?
yep. No, that is definitely the end state. Like, which way are we going? We're definitely not going towards harmony and fucking the utopia at this point. And that's again, that's like, what direction are we going? If you feel like we're going the right direction, then cool, I guess. Um, I hope you wash your MAGA hat. But like, if you
Yeah.
don't, like, you are part of a group of people that needs to like step up and start doing something, because that is the only way. Because yeah, like what you said, like we are living through history. Like I definitely remember being a kid and like looking at Nazi Germany and being like, as we all look at it, and we're like, oh, that's a history moment. Like, wow, what a wild time. And I don't know if it's normal, but like I've fantasized about like being in a Mad Max style hellscape, as a fantasy or whatever. But
Yeah.
like, holy shit, we're getting there. Like
Mhm.
we're fucking going. Like that's where we're literally fucking going. And I'm like, wow, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, be careful what you wish for, I guess. Like, but like
Well,
safe.
and it doesn't even have to be that intense, right? Visually for us to be there. Well, and what's funny is like we already felt that a little bit when we went through COVID. I remember driving down what do you call it in the States? Like an interstate, a freeway, basically one of those elevated roads that go over top of the city sort of deal. I was driving down one of those and it was completely bare. There were absolutely no other cars on the road except for me. A heavy, dense fog was rolling across the street, and there were signs everywhere, flat like giant red flashing signs saying COVID-19 warning. Essentially, like, this is the end. You're fucking done.
Wow.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
we seen that dystopic future. We already seen that, but it doesn't need to look dystopic for it to be that. There are different levels of what it could look like. It could look like anything. It could look like a regular day, a regular sunny day, right? But in the background, you have people being nabbed and thrown into the back of a van. It could look like the buses and trains all running on time, but when they show up, all of the windows are smashed out and half of it's set on fire. The different levels that it could look like are varied, right? But that's the future that we're looking towards. And that's why I think that in this situation, like, we have to start thinking bigger. I think that with everything that's going on, I think that we've tried the small things, we've tried the incrementalism, we've tried the bullshit. I think that it's time for a larger change. I think it's time for a larger reimagining of what we can do as a species. And I think that the only way to get there, and I think that we're on the precipice of doing that. I think that we're on the brink of a new paradigm, a paradigm shift, right? And once the liberals realize that they're being affected personally, then they'll get into the streets too, and they'll start marching about it, and they'll do something. And I think that eventually everybody will stand up and they will fight back. And I'm an optimist, and I realize that because I'm hopeful, right? Because I think that revolution is an act of hope. Some people say that the hopeless, or the full quote is, the hopeless don't revolt, or sorry, the hopeless revolt because ah, the hopeless don't revolt because revolution is an act of hope. There we go.
Yeah.
Um, and some people say that the hopeless, that people that are revolutionaries, they've basically lost everything. They have nothing to lose. If that's the case, then we're marching towards that. We are almost at the point where we have nothing to lose. You know, some people still do, but who knows where that's going to be by the end of the year, by the end of the month. We have no idea,
Yeah,
right?
it's an extraction right now. I mean, it's definitely like this is
Yeah.
part of it. Like it's going to be a slow wave just like COVID where it's just
Mhm.
going to this is going to shock the whole thing, especially America because again, like no matter what, we ain't going to zero tariffs and like you can't shove the people back in the federal government. Like all those systems, these are fucking decimated now. And
Yeah.
like to
Yeah.
from
Well,
a
it'll take decades to fix if it even
you
can be
can't and you
fixed at
can't
all.
put it back the way it was. You literally
No.
like now's the like what you talked about the precipice. That's kind of why I feel like we're on the precipice of something new because once people realize like we can't, I think that's what people don't realize is like we literally can't go back. So like we may as well throw the fucking thing away and start
Yeah.
fresh and like build something totally new. And from a like that to me is like the state withering in the Marxist concept is like
Sure.
they're the fucking conservatives are doing it for us. They're withering the state. Okay. Like
Yeah.
cool. Like I guess I mean it sucks that it's only the social parts of it, which is like that's the problem. And that's when voting, like when we're talking about voting, is like I vote for social programs. Like we should I think building out a state that like does social programs is great. Like redistribute wealth, support people. That's literally the only thing the state should do, in my opinion, because then you can just turn that into whatever, other version of that in the right society. But at least it's not militarism and all that
Mhm.
shit. But like safety is really the thing that people don't want to sacrifice. And in America, like safety is a thing for so many people. There's this feeling of safety. Often it is an illusion,
Yes.
in reality. Like it is a trust in a system. It is a trust in a lots of things that like people are again like it's the cracks show. Like if you're aware, if you're paying attention, like you can see it coming. But as an example, like yeah, like what is coming is like jobs are going to be lost. Like we need to be, which is why I'm like we need to build community. I need to get to know all these people around me because I wouldn't be surprised because the end state is like somebody can't make their house payment. Somebody is renting from someone and they get evicted or whatever, but they're like they've been there for 10 years because that happens. I've literally already seen that happen. Someone who's on Social Security can't fucking do it and they have to sell their house to private equity or something, right? Like to someone that's just going to flip it and like gentrify the neighborhood, right? Like this is the moment when we have to be when they need to have my phone number because I will go over there and I will talk to those motherfuckers. Like I don't want that to fucking
Yeah.
happen. We shouldn't allow that to happen. That's what it has to start at because that's what's going to happen. Like, but getting liberals on board, that feeling of because they feel so safe in the society as it exists now. Yeah, and like that's how motorcycles I feel like got me kind of even connected to Marxism was because it was like, man, why are some people not well just totally like obsessed with like a car because they want to be safe because they cannot imagine a world where like they would reduce their own personal safety or even that safety would
Yeah.
just your safety profile would be different, right? You would make it up by being smaller and that would make you safer in X situations, but you would trade it off for being in a giant tank everywhere. Like but that like led me down the pipe of realizing that there was like hierarchies and actually connected to
Yeah.
your wealth often and like people who had better lives who had more things like wanted to buy safety and or even the people who had more gear who were telling me I was stupid because I couldn't afford fucking $1,500 gear. Like I just made a video about like how I got the job done in like less than $100 worth of like plastic shit and like rode in weather that many motorcycle riders just do not ride in because it's uncomfortable for them. Like
Yeah.
discomfort is a thing we have to get accustomed to because that's how personal growth happens as well, but that's like how societal growth has to happen.
Yeah, and it's funny that we have this conversation about safety and that sort of thing. That's one of the things that gets weaponized first by fascism, right? Is this illusion of safety, right? And even neoliberalism uses the same thing as well. Security theater is a great form of this. When you see the safety, right, driving down the street in a police car, right? When you see the safety of the jackboot thugs coming down and beating the shit out of somebody that you might deem or that you've been made to think is a criminal, right? If you see the safety of the barbed wire fences everywhere and the giant slabs of impenetrable concrete, right, then sure, you might feel somewhat safer. But a thing about that is it's a weapon, you know, it's something that the fascists use to make you feel like everything is going to be fine. But at the end of the day, nothing is going to be fine. And every single socialist writer from Marx to Mao to Kropotkin to everybody, you know, a lot of them talk about how these contradictions build up and build up and build up, and eventually they bubble over, they explode, right? And that is something that can't be stopped, right? Fascism can only work as a tourniquet for capitalism for so long before the contradictions continue to compile, and eventually the people either revolt and explode, or in some cases maybe become completely docile uh, and controlled, right? But I don't want us to be at that point yet. I don't think that we should all just, as Kyle Kalinske says, line a chalk outline of ourselves on the road, right? I don't think that we should just accept the Neuralink chip and become docile, obedient workers for the machine. You know, I think that we still have a chance right now to fight back, and I don't think that we have much time left to not. Right? If you look at a lot of the rhetoric that comes out of these people, these fucking horrific, monstrous people that run the society and the country, Elon Musk and fucking Jeff Bezos and a number of other billionaires and CEOs and stuff, they are predicting the end of times, right? There was a thing about Elon Musk just the other day saying that he needs to get his seed out to as many women as possible so that he can help repopulate the world with high value sperm, essentially, right? Because he thinks that there's going to be an epic cataclysm, an end of all things, right? He thinks that society is going to fall. These people have been talking about this for the past 10 years. I remember I think it was about 8 or 10 years ago, reading a paper where there was a journalist that got together with a bunch of wealthy CEOs, and they were talking about figuring out how to rig their security forces with shock collars so that they
Yeah.
could be able to still control them once money wasn't available anymore. You know, like they are preparing for this stuff.
They want to pop people's heads like in fucking cyberpunk shit, right? Where they got the thing that can
Yes,
just blow your brain
yes,
off. No, they legit want that.
literally.
Holy shit, yeah.
And it's blowing my mind. It's blowing my mind because I sound like a fucking conspiracy theorist. We got motherfuckers out there right now that are using their own sons as blood bags so that they can live longer. Like, we
Yeah.
are on fucking DEF CON fucking level 5,000. This is so fucking crazy. And it's funny because, like, fascism, yeah, it comes with jackboots. It comes with all of these sorts of things. But I never really thought about how fucking silly it all was. You
Yeah.
know, how absolutely asinine the whole thing is. But getting back to my point, they are already planning for the end times. We should be planning for our own revolutions and for those sorts of things to happen as well. If we don't plan as hard as the people that are planning for war, right?
Yeah.
Then we're not going to be in a very good position, right? We have to be able to plan and um, work towards community as much as people are planning and working towards war. I think is the way to
Yeah,
look at
no,
it.
that's a wow. What a great way to put that, because that is exactly it. Like the billionaires, and you're totally right. Like if we just listen to them, to what they said, right? Like what do they want? Like in the same way, how do you figure out what workers want? Well, you gotta talk to them, and you gotta get in there. And
Yeah.
they're so smug, and they think they're so fucking smart that they will tell you that they are not planning to save anybody. They are
Yeah.
absolutely fortifying their position for like after society collapses, so that they can be set up in this, just exactly what you're talking about. And like
Mhm.
that is all you really need to understand. To like once you get that, it's like there's really no seeing anything they do outside of that motivation, because it all fucking fits. If you don't realize it, you don't have enough history or context or whatever. Fascists are a joke. That's one of the key things that I basically said in my video, is like, this guy is a fucking joke. Like,
Yeah.
and once you realize that, and you realize like how much, like, but the thing is like, this joke of a man was able to consume like 40 people's time like 2 hours of time, right? It is so, the weaponry, the warfare they use is so, like, again, it takes, I think you mentioned it earlier, it's like 90% plus effort, like, from other people to defeat this. But like, that's what we needed to do. That's what you have to do. You have to demonstrate just overwhelming force for this thing, no tolerance for this thing at all. But like, when you have people who are community minded, again, and that's why I love motorcycle riders, is because motorcycle riders are way more community minded. And like, what I didn't realize, that motorcycles were also a class issue, in the sense that, like, again, like, a lot of people who can't afford cars, like countries that can't afford cars, like, even like, I get a comment I get all the time, like, again, on my rain video, is just buy a car, bro. Like, come on, I don't want to do all that shit. And it's like, that's such a luxury. That's an American fucking mentality, because other people do not, they literally cannot afford that. They can afford fucking 25, 50 cc bikes, you know, and because again, the infrastructure is all designed, and the infrastructure is all designed around it. You know, it's a totally different system. But like, seeing that was like, oh wow, dude, we are so inculcated by our environment, and it restricts what we mentally believe is possible, even to the point of like totally ignoring objective reality of like, well, just look over here, you know? But when I went to that protest, in April 5th, at the Seattle Center, was really big, very lived up. But I'm trying to figure out what to do with people's energy. So, and this is a question I want you to answer once I tell this story, or help me out with, is like, how do I harness the people at these protests? Because they had all these Democrats fucking speaking, you know, they said a lot. They of course use very populist and very leftist rhetoric when it's convenient to them in these moments. And it was very well hit because of that. And, you know, they have people like Pramila Jayapal who have leftist credentials, you know, as part of the Democratic Party. But like, I'm like, how do I get these people activated? And so I wrote a little script, and I kind of just went around just saying different things, you know, and basically speaking like as we're speaking now, just out loud. And then I started commenting on people's like boards and shit. And then like, cause a guy had something against our governor, and our governor right now is like against a high, very, very publicly against a high incomer, like wealth tax. And our fucking government budget is like so fucked. Like they're going to be shutting down construction for things. They're shutting down services, like, and they're just talking about more fucking austerity and it's just like, we're Washington State. We're supposed to be the super left ones, and you're going to fucking force austerity on us. What the fuck? And so yeah, I'm like commenting on that, right? But then a whole group of bike cops walks by, and I just get fucking triggered, because I got police violence in my veins, and I think I got a little PTSD. So I'm just like, oh, it's fucking Seattle's finest fascists. Like, let's fucking go. Let's all, but you know, and I'm just like, these are the most violent people in our fucking. This is who you need to have your eyes. You know, I'm just like going, and like at first people are with me, and then I keep.
Were you wearing a mask?
Yeah, I was wearing a mask and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're good. Let's go.
Well, and like I talk in my video, I don't know if I'll do, but I say all this shit, and then people go from like clapping me to like booing me. Like a handful of people boo me. They're like, too much hate, you know, send that hate away. And I'm just like, ma'am, you know, if you don't, I'm glad you're here. If you don't understand this, like, this is what it's like, but this is just a dog and pony show for you. But yeah, like that's the realization, is I'm with a bunch of liberals, and like liberals love the cops because they love to feel safe. And like, yeah, they see people in masks and stuff, and they don't feel safe. I had people yell at me like often, like, take your mask off. Like people,
yeah, of course.
People saw that as like, liberals saw that as a thing that was like, because again, the concept of stand behind your convictions, die for your convictions, which is the thing they don't think about, or maybe they don't want to acknowledge exactly that
the thing they won't do.
Exactly, right? And it's like telling on themselves what their insecurity is.
I don't believe in what you say, but I'll fight for the death for you to say it, unless it's something about Israel. Then you can't say it at all.
Yeah. And so realizing that like safety is right now I feel like is such a core function. And again, who is safe? Like the liberal guy I went to another protest, and I want to come back to the question I asked you specifically, but the last story I'll tell is at a Tesla protest like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was like I was really frustrated, and I was like walking through cars. So I was in a pretty public area of Seattle, a big like two lanes each direction, all four, you know, every direction, just big one. cars are getting stopped there. And I was just walking through them. And when I saw a Tesla, I was like, hey, do you know trans people? And I would just try to have a conversation with them in their car. And a lot of people gave me the Seattle, like, oh God, a homeless guy's here. I don't want to look at you. That was a lot. But then there were people who like rolled their window down and engaged with me sincerely. And I had conversations,
Yeah.
and a lot of them were like, no. But there were people that were shitty at points. But like a liberal guy came up to me and he was like, hey, you're making me uncomfortable. Like, I think you might be making things less safe for people here. We don't want someone to retaliate. So can you like tone it down? And I'm like, no, I can't, because you don't understand. Like, if you think this is violence, you don't know what's fucking happening. You're not in community with trans people. Like, you do not understand what's fucking going on.
Yep.
And like, the time is over for this fucking silence bullshit, for this fucking peace. Fuck that, and but then people supported me, and I was like, oh, like there's people educating that guy. And at the end of it, he found me as I was like walking to my bike, didn't even see him, and he said, hey, thanks for coming, and he shook my hand, and I was like,
Right
okay,
on.
maybe I'm building solidarity here. But yeah, so that's my
all right, actually.
I'm trying. I'm doing new tactics all the time. I'm trying to figure this out. What do I do with these fucking libs? How do I accelerate this process of education in your mind? What can I be doing while I'm here that's more effective than what I'm doing now?
Honestly, what you just described is probably the best response that I can think of. If you're in the middle of that protest and you have the chance to plant those seeds, right? If you have the chance to make a good argument to a group of people, if you have the chance to use those strategies, I think that that's a great way to do it. Another thing too is that you can when you're entering into a protest, right? You want to evaluate what exactly that protest is doing and whether or not it's worth it for you to do certain things, right? So in a lived up protest like the one that you're talking about, what is the end goal for a leftist to be there? Right? Is it to convince some people on the ground that are there to be on board with some of the things that you're saying? Is it to maybe use some of the media attention that that protest is going to get directed towards a cause? Maybe you could do something with that. Maybe there might be something like a banner drop that could be done, or certain signs that could be put up, or flags that could be flown, that sort of thing. All of these things, they seem like small actions, but it definitely does build out. Um, the thing about a liberal protest, right, is the unfortunate reality of it is that they almost inevitably work to funnel people back towards the system,
Right.
right? Well, like what we were talking about before, where basically if you work within the system, you're not going to ever get anywhere, because unless capital or power structures are afraid of your power, then they're never going to capitulate to you. So if you're walking within the lines, if you're in the designated free speech zone, if there are scheduled routes and all of these pre-planned events and roads that are being blocked off and police are following along and it's turned into a parade and that sort of thing, is it going to challenge capital? Probably not. But is it going to be a big event that a lot of people can pay attention to, like online or on the media? Yeah, like that is essentially what it's doing, right? So if you can use it in some way to get that out there, the problem is that if you're too subversive in those protests, right? Not only will the police come and take you away, or find a way to get you out of there, the people themselves, because they believe in the police and everything, will do exactly what you said. They'll fight against you. But you might be able to convince some of them to be on your side. It's kind of like the street of evangelical people, right? The people that they're Christians that go and evangelize to people on the street. That does work to a certain degree, right? And even the reverse of that does work to a certain degree. Not Charlie Kirk, the Ben Shapiro thing, where they sit in a booth and say, "Change my mind," or was that Steven Crowder? One of the two.
They
That
all do it
can
now.
change people's.
It became
Yeah,
very
yeah, exactly.
popular.
That can move people. That can do things. You could also send out. You could come down there and you could share zines, right? Literature. That might even be more helpful, because then that way, after the initial protest, right? And usually, if it's a liberal protest, it'll be 1 to 3 days max, and then everybody goes back home, or goes back to brunch, or goes to work. It's a weekend, so you
Hey,
can hand out zines, and people can read up and maybe learn more further learn more about the thing that you're talking about further. But I think that what needs to actually happen is not to focus so much on the individual event, right? It's to work on ways that you can convince people in a long-term fashion, right? So you probably are never going to convince somebody of anything in a single day or a single conversation or a single moment, but you might be able to move somebody over the course of a period of time. And I've seen that happen to a lot of people. I've actually myself I've known a lot of right wingers and liberals, and I've been able to move them over to becoming leftists and anarchists and stuff like that. And the way that I usually do it is I try to find a way to constantly be in contact with that, or not constantly, sorry, to be in routine contact with that person, and just talk to them like a normal person and try to relate to them, right? Like you were saying that you enjoy doing sports and you enjoy motorcycle riding and that sort of thing. You come across as a pretty normal person, right? I think that we need more of that. We need more just normal presenting, for lack of a better term, people, right? Because like we have a lot of we have a lot of abnormal people. I'm an abnormal person myself. I'm covered in tattoos. I wear makeup on in the on my off days and stuff like that. Like, you know, I don't like the mainstream, right? But I still try to do normie things every once in a while. Like I love going fishing, and I love working on like building stuff and stuff like that. So I'm able to relate to just regular people, and I think that that's what we need to do more of. And if that message is coming from more just regular seeming people, um, or even if you, and here actually here's the thing too, if you're an irregular person, because I love all my irregular homies out there, if you're able to find places where being an irregular person is normal, right? Like going to raves or going to bars or going to any number of events, right? Fetish clubs or whatever it is. You can use that, right, also as a way to be able to talk to people and associate with people, get to know people, and you can plant seeds that way. And then the final strategy, which I think is the best one, is education through action, right? Which is building something or joining a structure that's already existing that can help teach people how to exist without capitalism in real time. Right. So, what do I mean by this? Basically, so in our organization, one of the main things that we did was created a community fridge, among many other things. The community fridge itself is an entity that is a big tent, right? It's not an anarchist exclusive club or anything like that, though those are important and you should have those as well. But it's welcome to, it's open to everybody, right? Everybody is welcome. Conservatives, liberals, doesn't matter who you are, as long as you're not a fascist and as long as you adhere by the codes of conduct that we've laid out, right? And when we bring people into that organization, it's all happy go lucky and very liberal friendly on the outside, and once they get into it, they hear words like community and solidarity and working together and cooperation, and that's all communism, but we don't need to say it, right? We can
Yeah.
just say those other words instead. And then all of a sudden, all of these liberals and conservatives are working within a structure that's anarchistic and communistic, and they're doing something that is inherently anti capitalistic. And eventually, they learn just through actions, right, how to live without those systems. And I think that that's the best possible way to do it, because once you build it, the people show up, they all want to help, and then they see the benefit in real time, right? And then from that, they are actively learning. And if you want to even go further, which we've started to do as well, where we start bringing in more ideas, right? Now, this meeting, we talked about the amount of food that we distributed, and we talked about the problems that we had about cleaning that one place. And there's this one dude that's been hanging around, and we need to figure out a thing. But now let's actually talk about some ideas, right? What do we want to see as a society? What do we want to see? How do we want to organize our organizations? What does that look like, right? And you bring up these topics, and it works to basically bring up the theory, right? When you're having that meeting, and then when you go back onto the ground, that's your praxis, right? You read, you actually physically do the thing that you're meant to do, right? Theory informs praxis, praxis informs theory, and so on, and back and forth forever. And I think that's probably the best possible way to get to move liberals, to move conservatives, whatever it is to start building dual power structures and get them in it, operating under anarchistic or communistic principles.
Yeah, that's what I kind of just that's what I just came to. Like that's the logical conclusion is you like dive into anarchism. It's like that's it. Is like, well, you gotta prove you can get off capital. Once you prove you can do that, once you take away its power from you, like that's it. Like that's the strategy. And
Literally.
we continue to do that, and the state's withering anyway. So you don't have a backup plan anymore. Actually, that's gone, and that's really what that's like been basically my driving point is like, hey, that shit's gone, dog. Like if you want to eat, like for sure, like we need to start talking about like who's gonna start growing some fucking food. You know, who's gonna or who's gonna like afford like how can we buy things in bulk as a community? Maybe like what can we do that's maybe not that doomeristic or down the anarcho primitivism like
Right.
but
like let's focus on the real solutions, right? The where the rubber hits the road solutions, right? Like it's all good and fine to have high-minded ideals and to read big books and to come up with all of these great beautiful strategies and stuff like that. But unless people really know what's going on, you're never going to have a full revolution, right? You can have a coup. Fucking lots of people have coups. Coups happen all the time. And then you enforce from the top down the kind of structure that you want everybody to live under. And it might work for a little while. The unfortunate thing, though, is that people need to understand why they're doing the thing for them to be fully on board with that thing.
yeah
Right. And the only way to do that, if you want it to be an egalitarian structure, is to teach those people how to live without capitalism. Whether or not the state withers away on its own, right? It may very well, but it isn't going to just wither into nothingness. It's going to wither into something, right? People love to say that power abhors a vacuum, right? Because every time there's any kind of power vacuum, somebody steps in to fill it. So we have to make sure that that doesn't happen, right? We have to make sure that the next people that are autocratic dictators or whatever that decide to come in with their coup and take over everything and tell us all what to do, we have to already have a structure in place to fight against that, right? And that's by physically teaching the people how to do, how to live without capitalism and without the state, because then they'll be far closer to being able to just do that on their own rather than relying on a dictator, right? We're not going to just go from one dictator to another, to another, to another, to another forever. At least I hope we're not, right? And that's why our job as anarchists, right? Anarchism isn't just something you believe, it's something you do. And our job as anarchists is to build those structures and to make that transition as easy as possible for normies, because we need to get there, you know?
yeah no
Yeah.
before I forget this, I want to ask you why don't you wear makeup on your channel? I would love to see a video with you wearing makeup on your channel. I think that'd be so cool. Yeah. I mean, I do my fingernails and I noticed you have your fingernails painted too. That was another thing that like attracted me to your videos. It's like, oh fuck, he paints his fingernails too. Awesome. Like,
Fuck yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like the thing that a lot of people don't know about me because I don't advertise or anything. I'm gender fluid, right? So, but when I'm doing my videos, I'm like a cartoon character, right? So this is the character that I play. I wear the black shirt, usually a black shirt, the little hat.
Yeah.
Not usually the glasses, but like this is the look for the show. So I keep that look for the show. Once in a while, I painted my face up like a clown a couple of times, but that's as far as I got with that. But what I do in my personal life is
You separate it. You separate it
inconsequential to
harder.
what I'm doing online. So
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's fine. You're so masked. I never would have guessed that. That's why it's like you're very.
That's the trick.
But
I'm masked right now, but just wait in 10 minutes and I'm gonna completely change that.
That's why I'm so fucking curious. But anyway, maybe that's a side conversation. Going back to the active learning community. Like that's the thing. The farther I dove down anything leftist, like actual theory, like the more it's like, look, you got to do fucking work, man. Like you have to critically think. You have to constantly be educating yourself. You have to want to be a good member of your community, which means making yourself valuable to other people and being able to contribute to their lives in a positive way. Like looking at a partnership, like a relationship in that framing, like some guy, some masculine guru, masculinity guru or like men's guru, like I watch, like he basically put it that way, where he was like, you know, some people look at their relationships as like something that completes them. He's like, I more like to look at it as a relationship is a place for me to develop into the best version of myself possible, like figuring out how to compromise, how to like, you know, lose my own ego, you know. And I was like, damn, that's a really good way. Like, that's a really interesting way to frame it. And like, I really connect with that. But yeah, like that's how you have to look at it. And that's why all these human problems of greed and like selfishness. Oh shit, I lost your video. I was like, I was just saying, I was like, well, you know, if that's how the interview ends, I'm like, that was fucking super cool. Like we got way into all the, like we've covered all this shit at this point that I really had. But like, yeah, I mean, this is why I wanted to talk to you. I knew that you would just be riffing on cool things that I was interested in. My parents, so my parents are very liberal and they're pretty, this is what grounds me. Like so I think I was born to like a postal worker. Like I was living with my grandparents until I was 16, postal worker and a truck driver. So two like just blue collar fucking people.
Yep.
Like we were very like low income. Like I remember going through bankruptcy. I remember like our food was shit. I remember like my clothes, I got made fun of for my clothes. Like I experienced bullying as a kid, like from that. And that's what drove me to sports, is like I excelled in sports and people respected me for being good at sports, even though I didn't need to be better I didn't need to dominate people. I could just be better and people would respect you. I think that's what attracted to me to sports. But yeah, so then I moved up to live with my stepdad and my mother up in Alaska for like, well, only lived with them for 2 years, but in Alaska for 8. And like one of the things that attracted to me was like, they were upper middle class. My stepdad owned a successful construction company with his father that they had built up together in Alaska. Like they specialized in dental offices. They did really good work. Like they were good, hard workers. He was a manual laborer like all his life. Like when his father died like 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, he went back to work as like a specialty guy, like in construction, was just like totally appalled at how nobody knew how to do fucking anything anymore, and he was the only one that knew how to do like all this specialized shit anyway. But like my point is like they, you know, they have that mentality is different, and I see it differently. Like the things they like they have, I'm like, hey, you should take all your money out of the stock market, and he's like, you know, it's gonna be fine, right? Like it'll always bounce back, right? And like my financial guy says it's good, and I'm like, okay, you know. But I'm like, do you understand what's happening? They know trans people. Like one of my really good trans friends, they introduced me to, because she was a pickleball player and she got like fucking shit on by a hate group. And I did a video about it, but like she was going to go into like the like really high levels of whatever the highest level of pickleball that they were trying to create. But it really like fucked up that career opportunity, and like outing her as a trans, she was totally stealth for like a decade. Nobody knew. She had 2 biological kids. Like, yeah, I mean, like, and that's anyway. But like they care about trans issues, but I'm like, things are really, really bad. Like, do you understand how bad they are? And they're kind of just like, I thought they weren't paying attention, but they are. It's just they don't know what to do, and they're just kind of like, we go to pickleball and we pay pickleball all day because we're just retired people, you know, and we don't have to really worry so much about this. And I'm trying to be like, hey, can you be having conversations with your friends? Because here's the thing, I know your friends, and those people, a lot of them are not in support of trans people the way that you are. Like they do not understand. Right. They need to hear these stories. They need to care, you know, like we need to do, but it's very difficult. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to do with like the liberals in my life. I was curious about several things, which is like, I read somewhere. So I went back into your back video catalog on YouTube, and I was like checking out your YouTube channel. I think somewhere I read that you either introduced yourself, maybe it's in your bio, but that it said that you're an ex neo-Nazi. Am I?
No.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
No.
Maybe I fucked. Okay, I don't know where I read that. Again.
No. It's a common misconception. No. So I made a video that had a clickbait title, and it said went from neo-Nazi to anarcho-communist. And within the first 10 seconds of the video, I'd say I wasn't actually a Nazi, but I did actually know a lot of people that were, and unfortunately I was friends with some of them. And that ended up being blown out of proportion on Twitter, because everything gets blown out of proportion.
Yeah, I definitely see it. I didn't watch the video. Yeah. I mean, obviously I didn't watch the video. So like I was I was watching the content that was more interesting to me because to be honest,
Mm.
I've heard enough of those stories. Like that's fine. I totally
Yeah.
like you felt one way and then you realized, then you had empathy or something. And, like that's just not an
Yeah.
interesting story to me. Um,
No, like
but
honestly, I was extremely conservative. Like if I didn't, if a select number of things didn't happen to me in my life, I would have went down the exact path that I think that the people that raised me kind of wanted me to go down, right? And that's not the direction that I went down, thank God. But I almost did, and it was that fucking close. I was raised in an extremely racist household.
mm,
The Every racial slur was on the tip of everybody's tongue every 5 minutes. Like every racial joke that you could think of. I heard it before I was 10 years old. I remember my dad getting really upset with me one time because I called the Chinese delivery guy that came to bring us Chinese food. I called him what my dad always calls people from China to his face. I think at 10 years old, and he was so embarrassed because racists are typically very embarrassed when they get shown for what they actually are, right? So yeah, so I came from a background that was extremely racist, and over the course of time, seeing how people are just regular people, how everybody is maybe built slightly differently, but are essentially the same when it comes down to biology and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, I eventually lost those beliefs, and I couldn't be happier that I did. Being going from being very radically conservative in my early years to being more of a libertarian, I suppose, in my early 20s, and then or well, in my late teens, early 20s, and then finally, I think that I learned about anarchism in my late or socialism and anarchism in my late 20s. So, and then I've been pretty much anarchist or a socialist of some variety ever since then.
yeah,
So, yeah, but it helps me in some ways be able to relate to a lot of the conservative people. I find I actually have an easier time converting conservatives than I do with liberals. But also it puts me in a situation too where just being white, and looking the way that I do, a lot of white conservative racists find me to be a safe space for
yeah,
them to
yeah,
say
exactly.
racist shit.
Yep.
Yeah, which I really don't like. So they're usually pretty caught off guard when I ask them, "Oh, so you're a fucking racist?"
I was gonna say I have so at bars I go to I get the same treatment, right? Like blonde haired blue eyed guy, like I get the exact
Yeah,
same, like, oh, we're same team, right? And I like to do the
yeah.
opposite. I like to play super fucking coy, and I like to just really see like what
See how far
what
they
is
all
at the
go.
core. And I think that that's like a
Yeah,
retail thing. That's like a how to win friends and influence people. That's like very much comes from like my sales background. But I
yeah,
also feel like, yeah, because I'm able to do that, like I'm able to, I mean, at least I tell myself in my head, I'm like, if I understand how this person ticks, like I can, if I can't convince them, like I can construct content that speaks to that person and like do something that like creates a persuasive argument for them. Um, but I think that the whole goes to libertarian before you find leftism. I think that the culture that we're raised in, right? Like you saw something wrong, and so because you're in a really racist household, you either conform to that or you develop empathy and other shit like through exposure to other things, and then you see, oh, that's actually wrong and bad, and you explore other things. And then
yeah,
libertarianism is like the natural thing that in a capitalist society they're like, that's real freedom is libertarianism, right?
yeah.
But if you keep digging, right, and you have morals and values that you ground outside of that capitalist framework, you eventually, yeah, you arrive at leftism at some point. That's kind of the pipeline I see for people. But like being a bigot also, like I think you also see that like being a bigot or a fascist, like you're not a happy person. Like that's the thing I try to sell, like that I think that these male and I need to make more masculinity like conversation content. I think for that reason is like to talk about shit like this. But like, dude, fascists and
Absolutely.
bigots are not fucking happy people. Like you are
No,
not happy when you are obsessing over what other people are doing. When you are
they're
rejecting
Literally, they're
reality.
miserable and they're scared all of the time. You
Yeah.
know, that's the thing. And they always paint themselves as victims all of the time. You know, that's the thing. Like, what's the adage? Every accusation is a confession,
Oh, bro, it's
right?
literally
That's
the
what it
thing I
is
put
with,
in my last video. Literally what I put in
yeah,
my video. Yeah, totally.
it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Um, you were also an ex-atheist content creator,
Mm.
I think is what, or,
Oh,
right?
oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. And
Still
is
an
that part
atheist,
of
but
is
ex-atheist content creator. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, interesting. So is that where you started creating content? Like what was your content creation like startup, I guess, story? I'm curious about.
Yeah, I always wanted to make videos about random stuff, and I kind of fell into the atheist skeptic category. I made like a cute little cartoon. It was a an animated cartoon series with a little Lego Charles Darwin, and he would get into hijinks and do little rap videos, and it was ultimately it was awesome, but very cringe. I am cringe, but I am free. That's fine. Um,
Cringe is authenticity. All right. That's
what's
what
that?
it, yeah. I said
Yeah,
cringe is authenticity. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to remember, like back in those days, like we still had like the annoying orange and shit like that. Like that
Yeah.
was peak internet humor was right there.
Yeah.
So,
Icon has cheeseburger and shit. Yeah. Dude, people
yeah,
still in
exactly.
the motorcycle world. I didn't realize this, but like this atheism, like, is kind of a thing that my community is a part of too. Like, comes from, which I didn't realize. But I think it's because in the motorcycle content world, there are people that literally have, like, they put Bible verses in there just randomly in their videos. Like, that's a very consistent, like, common thing in very major motor content channels. And I think that, like, people picked up on, even though I don't, I think I definitely do poke fun at religion, but I don't do it in like a serious way. Like, I poke fun at religion in the sense of like religion itself, not that religious people are bad. Because I met, yeah, like people who are like, anyway, like I don't hate people. People can be religious. That's totally fine. Have your own spirituality. That's totally fine. I don't know what the fuck happens, but I'm ready to die. It's fine. Yeah. But
Just take me now.
yeah,
Honestly, we had a good run.
yeah, but like obviously, like I think in our is there religion in an anarchist society? I think that that's one of the things that I don't know. Like, I guess freedom, right? Yes, as long as you're not infringing on other people's like autonomy and shit, right?
Yeah, so there's a long history of religious anarchists. The first one that comes to mind is Dorothy Day. She was a Catholic anarchist. I believe it was Catholic or Christian. I think it was Catholic. And she was an anarchist activist, heavily into unionizing and stuff like that. So there is a tradition of religious anarchism. For the most part, anarchists are either skeptical of religion or are irreligious. But that isn't a hard and fast rule. You can believe whatever you want to believe. That's the great thing about anarchism, right? Is personal autonomy and freedom and stuff like that. So obviously, believe whatever you want. Personally, I'm an atheist. I have been for forever, and my atheism is one of the things that directed me to and also helped to inform me of my anarchism as well. Just in that I always was seeking what I believed was the truth. I have an innate sense to try to pull things apart and figure out how they work and stuff like that. And religion is a great thing to do. If like I'm ADHD as fuck, so that's part of what I do. Right, is just tinker with shit and pull it apart and figure it out. And that's what I did with religion. That's what I did with capitalism. I used to think that religion was the number one big bad. You know, all of the reasons why everything was wrong in the world was because of religion. I've since changed that perspective quite a bit. I think that religion has a part to play, right? But I think that it all boils down to, again, what we were talking about in the beginning, the power dynamic, the oppressed and the oppressor, right? I think that's the big bad at the end of the day, whether it comes from religion, whether it comes from uh, uh, government, whether it comes from state, whether it comes from fucking sports, well, it doesn't matter what it is, right? Like, it's always that one thing. Um, so yeah, I think that there are a lot of benefits though to religion. I think that religion can give you something that I've always not been envious of, but I've always kind of enjoyed. Like I really enjoy surrounding myself with religious people, not necessarily
Yeah.
Christians or anything, just because they think in a different way than I do, you know? And I like that. I don't like everybody thinking just exactly the same things as I do. I want to hear differing opinions because then I might be able to think of something in a different way than I have always thought it. And my main goal in life is to be right about as many things as I possibly can be. Uh, but to be but to be right about as many things as you can, you also have to know and accept when you're wrong. So my favorite thing is learning that I was wrong about something, because
Yeah.
then I'm closer to being right. You know,
Learning to let go of like this desire to be right about everything. It's like who
one hundred
nobody's right about
percent.
everything all the time. We all literally just come out of the womb and we don't know anything about anything. And then
Yeah.
like and the people around it, like I think about the people around me who are again my learning. I like being raised by grandparents because it makes me a very patient person. Like I think some
Oh,
people like
cool. Yeah.
especially I think one of the things that annoys me is that people my age and like younger like they just I don't feel like they give like the same like respect to older people that I do and like appreciate the wisdom like what they say. I had a couple
That's
of
cool.
very empathetic and like influential grandparents and I think that's anyway I've loved that part of it. But they oh shit I lost it. There was I lost it. That's totally fine. I can
It'll
tell I'm
come back.
getting tired. I've really enjoyed
Yeah, I
talking to
am
you.
too.
That was, I think I got distracted on a different question. Which
No
is I
problem.
was gonna, we'll wrap this up pretty soon. It's been really cool talking to you. I've learned so much, and
Yeah.
I think my audience, they're, I think I mentioned this, but like I don't follow any of the like YouTube conventions. I literally just dump whatever the fuck it's like. It's going on my YouTube channel. It may as well be a vlog. A lot of it is like educational, like instructional content for
Yeah,
motorcycles.
that's fine. Whatever works, works, man.
Yeah, but then there's a lot of shit like this where I'm just like, I'm gonna have this conversation anyway. I may as well record it for content because I think other
Hell
people
yeah.
need to like hear it, and I think they can learn from it, and like it can help people get on the same page with me, you know.
Mhm.
But what's it like being a Canadian for you, like in your experience right now in this moment,
Uh, I've never getting. Oh man,
or
we were
not
blue skying
nationalism,
for
or
a
is
minute
like
there, and it was
nationalism like a thing
nice.
you're
But
not into?
we're
Is
getting
that
back into the shit now.
yeah?
But that's okay. No, I have always felt as though Canada and my role in Canada has always been kind of like a not like I was making a joke before about us being your little brother, right? About being America's little brother, but I kind of do actually. I've always kind of seen Canada as being that where we kind of do everything that America does, and we're always like 10 years behind America, and we always look at them as kind of a guiding light and stuff. Like I know more about American politics than I know about Canadian politics. Easily. Like it's not even a fucking question. I could not tell you anything about my local politics, not a fucking thing. But I could tell you oceans and oceans of things about American politics. And I don't even like politics. I'm anti-political, but I pay attention to it a lot. But right now, as a Canadian, I have never felt more detached from that entire country than I ever have. I always felt like America and Canada were kind of simpatico. Like we were kind of like not the same country, but basically, you know, we're the same country.
Yeah.
And now we are not. Like we are not the same. We're
Yeah.
not the same. Like we don't think the same. We don't do things the same way. Um, but I think you know, and I say that, but I don't know that for sure because at the end of the day, I think that we're still on this slow, steady march towards fascism too, right? So I think that uh, I'm happy that we're, and I'm so sorry for my American friends. I really am. I'm happy that I'm not there. I'm so sad that y'all are. And if I could offer some advice to anybody that is in a marginalized community or anything like that, if there's a way to get out, you should, because things are going to get worse. They're going to get so much worse. Um, and you shouldn't be there for that. And if there's a way to get out of there, then you should. And if you have to stay and fight, then I mean, I understand it. But at the same time, if you live to live today, then you stand to fight tomorrow, you know? So that's the way I feel about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that perspective. That yeah, I totally Yeah, exactly, right? Like you're not the same country, and it's I think as a leftist, like you tend to like conservatives right now and like MAGA people, like they look at politics because it's a fucking game, right? It's about power to them. It's
Mhm.
a competition to them. It's they see it as all or nothing, zero sum. Whereas leftists are, I think, dialed into like looking things high level because we're just tend to see things as like a global community and like universally the problem is the same everywhere. We got to destroy capitalism and we got to like revolution and
Literally.
overthrow this shit, right? So
Yeah.
it's funny to me that we both have that, but it does like distract people from their local politics. And I'm really glad I'm starting to I like got a Seattle Times subscription. I'm reading that. I'm trying to read that instead of scroll Instagram because I want to know
Sure.
what's happening in my community. Because if I didn't,
Yeah.
actually, that was directly related to another thing. A trans woman was beat up like 3 miles, 3 or 4 miles from my fucking house, like in a university, like the University of Washington, like a very progressive, like student area. But like some guys are just wandering down the fucking street and fucking harass, like we're catcalling women and like this trans woman like made a comment and like went to take a photo of them and they fucking chased her down and beat her and she had to run to a fucking business to get saved, right? But they
Yeah.
I saw that and I was so angry. I was so fucking mad. And then I realized because of that they were doing a demonstration in that area for that person. And so I went to it and I got
Good.
to see her
Fuck
talk
yeah.
about like the experience and I got to meet some other people and I met some other motorcycle riders there who were doing like traffic like enforcement and like leading the protest to where the incident happened. And like had
Very
I
cool.
not been reading my local paper, I would not have realized that. I would not have been activated and realized that there are fucking things happening way closer than in fucking DC and all this shit, right? Like tariffs, I can't do shit
Right.
about it. Whatever, shit's gonna happen one way or another. I need to be paying attention to this. But yeah, we are, I think, kind of like we're like, but like at the end goal is really a global, it's a global solution. We all got to come together. The thing you said about Canada being the little brother of America and the same thing. Do you know who JJ McCullough is on YouTube?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
he
I've
said
never
that.
met him
Like
personally, but I know people that know him.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, he's a
Actually, no,
big
don't.
famous
Well,
Canadian
like I,
YouTuber, journalist, and like,
yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like, he described that, and like, I'm so glad you said that because I that just takes me back to him saying that because we used to feel like totally in lockstep, just like a
Yeah.
slightly more left version of America, but no, it is like, but like that's the thing, right? In the face of like fascism, like there's gonna be a big reaction. It's like they're having the instant reaction that we're kind of having that we're not going to see in any democratic way for 2 years, right? Via the electoral
Mhm.
system, which is why fuck that. Like 2 years, fuck you. There ain't no time for that shit. Like time is running out. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And the last thing I was gonna say is that like I find that I connect a lot with the religious people because they're more community minded often.
Oh
Like
sure.
especially
Yes.
like Islamic
Yes.
people, like they're
Yep.
so community
And
minded by
yeah.
comparison to a lot of the Christians. And like
Yep.
my
And
ex wife was Catholic.
sick
Like I
people.
got to see those communities and like yeah, like that's I like that part
Yep.
about it. I don't like the bigotry.
Absolutely.
I don't like the judgment on other people. I don't like,
Hmm.
but I like the community part of it. Yeah.
Oh fuck yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we can there are things that we can learn from that, right? I when I was an atheist, well, I mean I'm still an atheist, what am I saying? But when before I discovered anarchism and leftism and stuff like that, I would always be very disappointed at the showing of like atheism what is that called? Philanthropy, I suppose, or charity, I suppose. Whereas Christians were always out, they're always delivering food, they're always doing nice things, they're always helping people and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't believe what you're saying, right? I think that most of it's bullshit, but there you are actually helping people, and that's important. So I think that that's something that we should do. And I was always disappointed that there weren't more skeptic and atheist based movements that were helping people. And then I realized that it was because the people that are helping people that are more secular are typically leftist, communist, anarchist, those sorts of people. And just the ideas themselves, those ideas in general, are so demonized that we never really, like in the 90s, like you'd never fuck, I never heard of anything about communism in the 90s other than like it was the old enemy, right? And now you can get a Che Guevara t shirt. Like that's literally
Yeah.
the extent of what I heard about, you know, pretty much after the fall of the Soviet Union from 91 forward, never heard anything really about communism. So I didn't even know that it existed. So, but yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that we can learn from religion, and a lot of things that we can learn that they did wrong. You know, learn from their mistakes as well.
Yeah, the hierarchy part of it obviously is kind of the
Yeah,
core issue. Like it's kind of just
sure.
baked into
Yeah,
religion. But yeah, in
100%.
America and like in capitalism, like a community
And
mindset is just
recuperation too.
discouraged, and that I
Oh,
think
sorry.
that's the
Sorry.
core. That's like a lot of the core problem is it's competition over coming together. Everything is based around like that's why trans women in women's sports. That's why I see it as the like defining issue that they can get to fucking people to bite on is because it's about competition and
Yeah.
Americans' obsession and the capitalist obsession with competition. Who's the
Oh,
best individually? Ignore ignore all the material realities behind those
yeah.
things. Again, like starting from the
But
point of like the people
but
who even
that's
get the ability to play the
it's such a
goddamn sport.
uniquely American experience, isn't it? That
Yeah.
those are the things that you think about as being competition, right? Where the same kind of competition that they had, what was it in basketball and baseball when they wouldn't allow black people to play,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, competition in
Yeah.
America, it always seems like it has this bent towards making sure that the whole system is rigged for one certain group, you know, so that oh yeah, competition, merit-based democracy and all that, but really it's all tilted. Like you want to talk about DEI, I mean, I don't love this argument, but it is somewhat true, right? The DEI hires are usually these white Americans, right, that wouldn't have been able to succeed past most of the Asian people that are in the same competitive spaces they are, or black people that are in various spaces as well, right? It's all what they're worried about, like white cis white women getting beat by trans girls in tennis and checkers and shit like that. It's so fucking lame. It's such a fucking pathetic, lame, like it's for lack of a better term, it's soy.
it,
Like it's so pathetic.
yeah.
It's so childish. And it's and every accusation or sorry, yeah, every accusation is an omission. They literally are the ones that are the snowflakes. They're the ones that are the crybabies. They're the ones that are PC. Like politically correct. You want to talk about politically correct? How about taking the government, right? The government itself, taking every single word that has to do with DEI, control F, every single word that has to do with DEI out of the government, right? Out of every government program. And you want to talk to me about fucking being politically correct and the word police and thought police and all of these things? Fuck off. Fuck off
Yeah.
with all that. Like,
It
I'm so sick and tired of calling out Republican and right wing. What is that called?
like
Hypocrisy.
reactionary or
Well, no, just hypocrisy in general, because
oh
it's such a fucking losing battle. Because of course they're fucking hypocrites. They don't care at the end of the day about what really needs to happen. They only care about what they want, right? It doesn't matter if they do it through rules and laws, or they do it through power and coups. They just do what they need to do to get into power. Hitler did the exact same thing, right? If he couldn't take control over the state through power, or sorry, through the laws, then he would do it through a coup, which is exactly how it worked. It's a time tested strategy.
yeah.
Anyway,
The YouTuber friend of mine, Phil, who's an ex-cop,
yeah.
he actually quit his YouTube channel, but for now at least, he went into pause. I think he was
Is
just
it that dang dad?
yeah, that dang dad,
I
exactly.
love his channel. I
Yeah,
love
I
it so
love him
much.
too. So he has in one of his videos he talks about, and I've used it, I've clipped it because it's so I've made this comparison to lane filtering, the ability for a motorcycle to like ride between cars legally.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the Americans are stuck with this crippling fear that someone somewhere is getting something they don't deserve. And it's just like that, that's really at the core, right? Like that's the
Why?
fucking sports shit is like, well,
Why
they
does it
don't
fucking
deserve to
matter?
win. And it's like, what do you fucking mean? And like you have to get in concepts of fairness and things that people don't actually want to dig into, right? It's so lazy.
Yeah.
And the people who whine the most about it are not athletes. That's the other thing I realized. That's why. Because if you play athletics, you're just like, you get it. You're not, unless you're fucking, like, there's very few people who are high level athletes are this obsessed over every like they know that they got, that other people, like, they got lucky, they didn't get injured, or they got resources, like Lance Armstrong's out here talking about trans women in sports. The motherfucker's cheating like a mother, like, are you fucking kidding me, man? Like,
Yeah.
um,
Literally.
but yeah, fascism is built into the system is like this. Some people are better than others. Like, some people are going to get to do the power thing. Like, it really is just built into that. And like, when you acknowledge that reality, like, yeah, I think it makes, again, the world makes more sense, even though it sounds more hyperbolic. And like, I for a long time didn't want to sound hyperbolic. I didn't want to sound alarmist. Like, I wanted,
You don't want to sound like the conspiracy theorist. It's fucking annoying, man. But
yeah,
that's the thing about conspiracy theories is that typically, here's the crazy shit, right? Is that like conspiracies actually do exist. The thing is that there is documented evidence throughout history that every time somebody starts stumbling onto something that's an actual thing, an actual conspiracy, the next day aliens show up in the sky, and that's all over the news. Right. The next day, something else crazy happens, or they blow it out of proportion, or all of a sudden a real incident starts getting projected on Alex Jones as being a psyop or some fucking thing. Right. It's in the best interest of the people in power to be able to get away with what they're doing by making us think it's gaslighting, by making us think that we're all fucking crazy. Right. Because we can see the real problems in the world. We can see the actual things falling apart, and like all of these fucked up situations, like I was talking about before with Brian Johnson and his baby blood boy, right?
yeah,
Like it's literally that, right? Like I sounds like I'm being fucking hyperbolic and conspiratorial. The
it's real.
motherfucker said that he took his blood. Right,
Yeah.
he took the blood of his child and fucking had a transfusion. Do you get to do that in your healthcare plan? Probably fucking not, right? The thing is, and I could go on and on about conspiracy theories, and I have a bunch of them myself, and I try not to fall too deeply into that path. The way that I think about conspiracy theories is that I don't believe them generally, but if they actually did happen, I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there can be a lot said about Epstein and private islands of like pedophiles going and doing terrible things in international waters and stuff like that. A lot of things can be said about that. A lot of elites might be involved in that. It might just be like this thing that elites do, because once you have so much power and so much influence and so much of everything, the only thing left that you can't have is something like that, right?
Yeah.
The forbidden ambrosia to them. Who knows? Who knows? Who fucking knows? I don't know if it's
I think
true. I
just being
don't
rich
think
makes
it's
you a
true. It
sicko.
might. But the
Yeah.
thing is, though, is that if I found out it was true, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, no. I think, yeah, it's how much does believing this thing that, society and things don't want you to believe is true, that have told you is not real and that it's a fabrication.
Yeah.
Like, what does that do to your life? And yeah, I think that, again, things that are I don't know. Like, I think things that are called conspiracies are just like, we live in a world where like misinformation is rampant. Like, flood the zone is the strategy now. They realize that they can't, before they could suppress. I realized that, like, as I read history, like a lot of these revolutions, like part of the reason is like it took time for information to go distances. You couldn't know what was happening instantly the way that we can now. And like that has been the progressive, the internet did liberalize and like educate people and like make them immune to certain types of like misinformation, but and allowed us to know things faster so that we can make decisions better.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're like, fuck, we can't keep people stupid, or it's harder to keep people stupid. We can't keep the information out of their hands. We can't burn the books entirely. Well, I guess we just have to make it, the real information, so difficult to find and discern. Like that is, and it's such a shitty, and again with AI being created now, and like I have to use AI for work as like I do what's called vibe coding, which is like where you use a GPT or some sort of like AI LLM. I like to call it an LLM because I think AI is like a very is misrepresenting what the fuck is going on here.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an LLM, but like using an LLM to
AI.
yeah, to like frame the code for me and like give me basic structures that I can then riff off of or whatever.
Yeah.
But like yeah, like but like it can never create anything new or interesting, and that's like fascism built in, right? Is like like creativity is not some of the philosophical things I've like heard people talk about with fascism. Like fuck, that does connect. Like fascism has no art. Like it's only like it's just it manifests like or recreates other people's art because there's just no creativity. It's about like war and dominance and like game theory, you know, and like that type of thinking it looking at your relationships that way. But like these people lie to our fucking faces. They're totally gaslighting. Yet watching and realizing like, oh, this is how it happened in Germany. He just literally kept saying things that were demonstrably not true. But the difference today is like you can know that like you can get a really good idea about what it is, but they suck you into these misinformation bubbles and like and suppress information, and like we're now getting closer just carving away who gets to even talk to the press secretary, and like watching the way that she interacts with people is just like, wow, that's like psycho fucking behavior. And like they either think we're really fucking stupid or they know that they can get away with it the longer they like hide it and just don't look up, right? Nope.
And it's also like throwing everything at the wall at once. Like it's what is it, the Steve Bannon model of making things happen so in such a rapid succession that people can't focus on a singular thing.
Yeah.
Right. I used to make the analogy that going onto Twitter or going on social media in general, right, is a lot like either opening a fire hose up in your mouth of content, right, everything in the entire world all at once. Or it's like freebasing the entire internet all at once, you know? It's every single thing. And the whiplash that you get when you scroll these apps going from one thing to another. I'm not a tech person, right? I don't do social media much. But just being on Instagram in the last couple of months, I tried scrolling through Instagram. Shit's fucking terrifying, right? Like you'll get like 5 different videos where it's like, oh, this is like fun, or like a bird talking, or like somebody stepped on a broom, smacked him in the face, haha, that's really funny. And then the next video is like a snuff film, a literal snuff film where somebody is getting fucking something, like they're getting killed in front of you, and somebody videotaped it, like, or somebody getting murdered in front of you, right? And you know what's funny about that? I went to an old friend, or not an old friend, a friend of mine who is an older person, and they were watching the news, or they were watching TV, actually, and they were flipping through channels, and it's the same. It's the exact same. They would flip from one channel to the other. It's a comedy video. It's a fun. It's a drama. It's a whatever. And then the next channel is Cops. And I haven't seen Cops in a while, but if you have, fucking don't.
Yeah.
It was just a poor Indigenous lady on the ground with the fucking policeman literally with his knee in her throat, the same way that they were with George Floyd, on broadcast television, 4K, high definition for everybody to see, right? And it's the whiplash, back and forth, back and forth. What is that doing to your brain, right? Is that like conditioning us so that we will be okay with watching that kind of stuff? Like, how is it that we are able to watch like a funny comedy video at one moment, and then the next moment we see somebody getting brutalized, right? And then the next moment we see somebody fucking getting their fucking noggin chopped off with a helicopter blade or whatever, right? Like, it's just this. I kind of forget where I was going with this, but yeah, the way that the internet is structured. Go ahead.
No, but that's actually so great that you explained that you just like that you weren't on the internet as much, and like you getting exposed to it and realizing the same thing as being someone who's been hyper online my entire life since I like got on AOL dial-up and like then built a whole tech career because I was like, well, that's what I know how to do, so I guess I'll do that. But like I look at it and I say, fuck, what is this doing to my ADHD brain? Like, this is built to be just so dopaminergic and like keep me locked into here. And
that's a good word.
And understanding that like the more we do something, the harder that path gets like ingrained and carved into our brain. It's like, oh fuck. But like, yeah, I the Ukrainian drone footage, like that was one of the things that early, and the Palestinian, like that shit is just like, that started me to, I was like, man, I got to get off fucking Twitter. I don't want to see this shit. Like, I don't at all. This is horrific. You have to, and like the one friend I like really dropped, I lost a 20-year friendship because I got a trans girlfriend, and it like over a year it like became a kind of a problem, and like I felt this very disrespected, that our relationship wasn't respected, and like, but like he was one of the people that he would send me like videos of like motorcycle crashes where people were just getting fucked up, and I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, man, I'm not really.
Yeah, I'll need that in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I can watch it, like motorcycle stuff, because I've just seen so much of it. But like, still, I'm like, I don't seek it out at all the way that like you're like, the fact that he was getting off on it and like found it entertaining was like, yeah, it was like part of the signs I looked at. I'm like, oh, this person was kind of dark in that way. I mean, I knew about it, but like I overlooked that for a long time. But yeah, like there's brain rot videos now where they take TikToks and shit, right? Like all these viral TikToks, and they cut them down to the absolute essence, and then they make that into a 30-minute YouTube video. And like the moment there's like it hits the punchline or the shock moment or whatever, that thing, it just cuts to the next thing. Like it's so chaining that, and I'm just like, wow, this is disgusting. Like this is sick. That like this is vulnerable people are like consuming this compulsively. Like they cannot stop. They're not, their lives are falling apart as they're consuming these like chains of shit, and it's so gross. I want to say Running from Cops is a podcast that if you haven't heard of, listen to, but it talks about the construction of the show Cops, and like they got like shit that hit the cutting room floor that's not supposed to be shown, and like it talks about how much control these police, and how much of it is just constructive, and the incentives that it creates for cops to like create a moment, and like how it really warps people's perception of policing. It's good.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's so.
You know what, being an online being somebody that's a social media personality or whatever the fuck, you're the same way too. You know that, right? You've seen that probably firsthand, where you get in front of the camera, and then all of a sudden you have the urge to perform because you're in front of and there might be a big audience, and you better make sure you make a show of it, and blah blah blah. Yeah, like of course the fucking cops do that too.
They want to be famous. They want to be famous, 100%. Of course. Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah. I'm gonna. Well, we've been going. This is gonna be great. This is gonna be a really awesome podcast episode. This has been so good. We got into all the things I wanted.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for doing this with me. And that's where the YouTube conversation is going to end here. But me and Aaron kept talking for another 10 or 15 minutes about other stuff. And I had a really enjoyable time talking to him and learning from him. And I hope you did too. Check out his YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Go check out his Patreon. Support him if you can. If you get value from these conversations, if you're learning things, this is the new educational content. So if you want to support that, if you can support it, I know he appreciates it, and I appreciate it too. I've got a playlist of other conversations I've had with very smart people, which if you enjoyed this, I would go check that out. And you can also get this in podcast form if you want to, or pass it on to other people with the Squid Tips cast, which is getting a cover art here very, very soon. I'm excited I commissioned that. Until next time, remember, a better world is possible. So ride fast and take chances.